Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hello and welcome to all of you to our first conference, ElleTech for Science and Education, brought to you by NetSol Technologies and Crack That Code. Your hosts for today are the founding team members of ElleTech, which includes myself, Aqsa Tariq, Mehek Jamal, and Bemisal Iqbal. And we would like to thank you all for joining our efforts as we help build women in teams. So I'll keep this short, but a little bit about ElleTech as we dive into the event today. ElleTech is a social enterprise for women working in teams. Traditionally it's called STEAM, where it's science, technology, engineering, and arts and mathematics. But we wanted to obviously keep this a little larger and turn it around and call it teams instead, because we're all about building that network for Pakistani women all around the world, as well as Pakistan itself. So our vision is just to become an aggregator that trains, connects, and grows or contributes in enhancing skills for women in different areas of work. So we provide skills, trainings, and create a community of like-minded women to financially empower themselves and in turn redefine female heroes of Pakistan. So on behalf of the entire team, I would like to welcome all of you to our first online conference, aiming to celebrate today International Education Day, which was declared by the United Nations on 24th January, and the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, which is today's the day. It was declared by the United Nations, and in that celebration, we are, bringing together some fantastic Pakistani women who have contributed greatly through the innovative programs and solutions, and have been working in the local space. We're very grateful to, of course, our sponsors for today, NetSol Technologies and Crack That Code. In this PowerPack session, all of you attendees will be participating in some interactive discussions, and you will hear from industry leaders and high-achieving women in the science of in the field of science, technology, and education. So I'm going to start off with introducing our first guest for today. I'd like to welcome Ms. Audrey Stevens. She's an economic officer at the U.S. Consulate, Karachi. And her first session is going to be the keynote, which is the welcome keynote for our event. It's called Keys to the Future. I'll introduce a little bit about Audrey. So Audrey is actually based out of Karachi, and her portfolio includes environment, science, technology, and health issues in Sindh and Balochistan. And she's also chiefly responsible for energy-related issues, including renewable energy and technologies. And her work also includes air quality monitoring and creative ways for the US and Pakistan to partner towards sustainable economic development. So with that, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Ms. Audrey Stevens, Economic Officer, US Consulate, Karachi.
Hi, how are you?
I'll leave it to you, Audrey. I will go backstage and leave it to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I hope everyone can hear me okay. My name is Audrey, and I work at the U.S. Consulate in Karachi. I just want to start with thanking everyone for organizing such an amazing event with such an amazing group of women, for the work that you do, all the amazing things, and for having us all be able to have this conversation today. I think with the pandemic and everything that has happened in this past year has made it all the more important to celebrate those things that we can, and celebrating Day of Education and the Day of Women and Girls in Science, which is today, is such a pleasure to have that opportunity. The work that you're doing that relates to these fields, to education and women in science, is truly invaluable, and it's always good to have a reason to celebrate. I wanted to start by telling you all a secret. And so my secret is that I'm afraid of whales, and it's strange, and people think it's very weird, and it's not something I normally bring up, partially because I don't like thinking about whales. But also I wanted to share this secret with you for a reason, not because I want sympathy or to be made fun of. But if you are also afraid of whales, please let me know. We can form a club. But I wanted to bring it up because this bizarre fear actually taught me something, and that the opposite of fear isn't bravery. The opposite of fear is curiosity. for me, with this fear of whales, there's, something, big as the house. They're in these deep, dark, unknowable oceans, this expansive nature, this scary place. And how can something so big move around or survive or move or breathe? And what are they doing underwater? And what do they eat? And what do they even do? And this fear, ultimately, what it comes from is not knowing, from not knowing about whales, about the ocean, about biology, about science. This fear comes from that not knowing, and I truly believe that not knowing about something, whether it's science, math, teaching, anything, makes it more challenging, makes it daunting, makes it discouraging, and ultimately makes it scary. And I think this fear of the unknown is something that we've seen multiply infinitely with the pandemic. We have our fears about what this means for our lives personally, what it means for our work, what it means for our education systems, and what it means for our world. And the pandemic and everything that has gone along with it is this big, scary thing. And what I would argue is not unlike big, scary whales. But what I do think one of the keys to getting through this time, it's not necessarily about more bravery, but about more curiosity. That the key to our future is a willingness to explore, to ask questions, to try new things, and to be curious to overcome these fears, to be curious to overcome the things that we don't know. I think the curiosity to try new solutions is really key to our future. That new solutions, both because of and in spite of the pandemic. Using technology to reach more girls by bringing classrooms into homes, to improve the quality of online education as much as possible to meet and exceed our expectations for in-person classes, using telework to increase women's employment and engagement in the financial sphere, or to increase women's financial inclusion and access to credit with digitization in the banking sector. We can be curious about how the pandemic has impacted air quality and what we can do about that. We can explore how to mentor women and girls in ways that are both safe and impactful. To recognize that there are many, many things that we can do virtually, including excellent events like this. And also recognizing that there are some things that we can't. We can't hug our loved ones over Zoom, but being really, really curious about what we can do. And one thing that I think we all can do is to make our work more accessible, that it's worth it to take the time to make something beautiful, to help people understand what we do and why we do it. For one example, there's an author and illustrator by the name of Rachel Ignatowski. She's an American author and illustrator. And, her secret was that she hated books. And now she's become an author and an illustrator. And she had a medical issue. She had difficulty with her eyes that caused headaches, made it difficult to read and difficult to focus, and ultimately difficult to learn. She hated books. She hated reading until she found comic books, illustrated books, and that level of art and that design, the ability to package things in an accessible way changed everything. Her curiosity about the world, about science, about women in the arts and the sciences, all of these amazing women that have done amazing things. And she's created a series of books about unknown, lesser known, complicated things. And her message and her works are a great reminder that one of the keys to our future is about making complicated things beautiful, to create curiosity with an image and then back it up with information. Her book on women in science highlights so many amazing women who overcame discrimination against them for a variety of reasons, that these women were able to proceed and really be pioneers in their fields. But her books are also works of art. They grab your attention with beautiful artwork, and they help everyone be curious about what's inside these books. How she presents the information, she makes it accessible, and she makes it easier to learn. It's easier to get excited about women in the sciences, about the scientific discoveries that they made. And I'm not saying that we should judge a book by its cover, but one thing that we can do as we rebuild and reimagine and are curious about what we can do in a world that has been so deeply impacted by the pandemic is to take the time to make our work stand out and reach as many people as possible in the simplest way possible. We can take the time to invite everyone to be a little bit more curious. And when we're curious, we learn more. We learn more about ourselves, more about our world, and ultimately that can help make the world a little bit less scary. Like many of you and myself, I'm hopeful and optimistic for all the opportunities that we have in 2021, optimistic for the future and everything that we've learned during this pandemic. And I just wanted to close by wishing everyone a happy, healthy, and curious 2021. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you, and looking forward to a really excellent event today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Audrey. Thank you. That really helps us sort of, set the tone for what we're looking for today. This is obviously a globally recognized day, and I think Pakistan is at a stage that no matter how many days we celebrate, or to really recognize the work that phenomenal women like yourself and the others who are joining us today are doing, there are just not enough days in a year, for us to really showcase that. Thank you, Audrey, once again. We'll now move on to our first panel discussion.